Oh, yes.
Welcome back once again, folks.
Hi.
I'm joined by my youngest today to present to you with a review for the brand new Transformers Generation Selects War for Cybertron trilogy, Rotorstorm. Rotorstorm is officially number 19 in the Hasbro-initiated Generation Selects line, and he is a new head retool of the Siege Spinister figure. Now, interestingly, when he was first revealed, he didn't have a new head. He just used the regular Spinister head, just done up in different colors, and it's not really known if that was intended to be the final product at the time it was shown, or if we were just shown it like an unfinished version of it, because very shortly after they revealed the new proper Rotorstorm head. For anyone not overly familiar with Rotorstorm, he spent most of his existence as a rather obscure European-only Generation 1 Autobot. Didn't have much of a personality to speak of, he just kind of existed. And it wasn't until IDW Comics' first run that he actually got fleshed out and got some personality, and was officially made a member of the Wreckers in that continuity. And that personality, you know, was rather jovial, but one character that wasn't entertained was Overlord, and that did not end well for poor Rotorstorm. Alright, so if you've seen my reviews before, you know how this goes. We're going to take a look at Rotorstorm's packaging. Not much to see there, admittedly. Then we'll open it up, we'll see the inside, then we'll look at his instructions, then we'll see Rotorstorm in both his helicopter and robot modes. I'll be doing a comparison with Siege Spinister, and naturally, I'll be doing some group shots with the other IDW Wreckers, or as many as I can gather anyway. And then at the end of the video, I'll get my final thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah! So, Rotorstorm comes in your standard deluxe size Selects packaging. It's an old cardboard mailer box type. It's got the same old graffitied Autobot symbol, some ancient Autobot text, War for Cybertron logo. You got the label here, which tells you who he is and what his number is. And the rest is mostly blank or just like extra designs, legal mumbo jumbo. And that's it. Alright, now to open this guy up. Let's go ahead, flip the top after you cut the label. And you got your typical War for Cybertron inspired inner lining to the package. And then here inside, you get Rotorstorm himself. It's packaged in robot mode like most modern Transformers. You can see he's got his two guns here. And when you pull them out, I love this paint job. I didn't realize how nice and vibrant that was.
I love this.
You love it?
Yeah.
Cool, dude. Alright, so here's Rotorstorm's instructions.
Pink.
Hey. So, you know, naturally it's got his render right here with the proper head, so that's good. This is Rotorstorm. You open this up. Extra paperwork. It feels very thick, but these aren't very big instructions, turns out. This just shows you how to have him hold his weapons. Doesn't show off the fact that they can combine, like Spinister's original Target Masters could. And then you just get the transformation from robot to vehicle mode. If you have Spinister, you already know how this goes. Shows you where to store the weapons, flip out the landing gear, and that's the finished product. I don't know why these feel so thick. Feels like there should be more here. That's weird. So, that's what we got. Alright, and here we have the Turbomaster himself in his helicopter mode. And despite the very obvious molding differences, seeing as this guy is based off a character with an incredibly different body type, they actually do a really good job of at least creating the illusion of the original helicopter, and that's mostly achieved through paint applications. So he does have the silver cockpit, like the original toy did. He's got that splash of that really nice green right there, like a sea green. The yellow on the barrels of his guns seem to evoke the yellow missiles that were on his, I don't know what you call them, weren't really wings, but just those little appendages that came off the sides there. And overall, I mean, he manages to get the look down pretty well. Like, that's a recolor done right, where you could use nothing but coloration to give the illusion that one mold is something else. So, I dig that. As far as, I guess, his tolerances, mechanical issues, there are none. Propeller spins just fine here. So does the back one. So everything's normal there. This bottom faux cockpit does have the same tendency to want to pop out a bit as the Spinister did, which is unfortunate, but you know, it's not too bad. You just gotta make sure you press it in well. He does still have the big weakness of the Spinister mold, which is the visible hands in helicopter mode. And because they're that bright pink color, they stick out like a sore thumb. And everything else is, you know, kind of what you'd expect from this mold. It's got the landing gear. The weapons are 2 different colors, which is just like Spinisters. So I imagine that's a molding requirement to have them that way. And he just looks really, really good. I dig this. You know, the bright colors, so that, you know, I guess a little history lesson, the European exclusive Generation 1 toys, they're kind of seen as like a Gen 1.5. They're what bridge the gap between the US Generation 1 run and then Generation 2. And as such, they're kind of a stylistic blend of the two. You know, this is when they were really starting to get into those loud 90s colors, and, you know, he almost looks like a Generation 2 figure. So, you know, overall, if that's not your style, you may not like his colors. For me, you know, it just makes them different. Most of Siege is pretty dark, muted, you know, warlike colors, so this is just something a little brighter, a little more fun to look at. For comparison, here is Spinister in his helicopter mode. You can see the color layouts are like night and day. It really did a lot to differentiate these two. One thing that's worth pointing out is that whereas Spinister's cockpit is, I want to say it's not completely clear, there's like a slightly blue tinge to it. Rotorstorm's here is just red, it's just a deep clear red. Man, makes them really stand out. Looks nice, and you know, they just both make for 2 pretty cool looking helicopters. Not very realistic looking ones, they definitely look more Cybertronian than Earth-based. Or at the very least, science fiction inspired, so they excel at that pretty well. Now for the transformation, I'm going to go ahead and remove his weapons. They're plugged into the bottoms of his robot feet via 5mm posts. Set those aside. You can go ahead and fold up his landing gear if you want to. And then here, his elbows are tabbed onto the feet. So just go ahead and kind of pop those free a little bit, and pop the arms off the side. They're also tabbed into his torso there. Same thing here, just kind of separate it like so. And now let's go ahead and take this one, the one that's on my left right now, fold it in, open this panel up, and you're gonna fold this leg out like so. Then we're gonna come around here and kind of do the same thing. And now for this side here, you're gonna do kind of the same thing. So you're gonna rotate this out, untab it, like the main torso section, kind of fold it down, flip this out, straighten it, do what you gotta do. Now let's see, on this side, you want to untab the heel from here, rotate this 180, fold it up, just kind of straighten it out, close that panel, and that's one of his feet right there. And he's got that nice ankle tilt. So you're doing the same thing here, just kind of straighten everything out. This one won't rotate around. You'll just pop it off the tab, fold it. All right, so you got the legs. Now we're gonna turn this around 90 degrees, pull this back part out. We're gonna take the helicopter tail, start pulling it in, bend it here, just push it all the way down. As far as it goes, plug it in nice and flush. And now the propellers here, go ahead, push them together like so. You're going to push all this in at once, and this tab should help hold these in place. Doesn't feel as stable as Spinisters, but they do hold as long as you don't loosen it. Go ahead, unplug his forearms from his shoulders. Pretty tight connections, which at the very least means that the vehicle mode holds together well. Alright, so you got the robot mode primed and ready, and then you just take his guns. And you know, you can attach them any which way, you can combine them, you know, if you want to do that. Me personally, I'm just going to have them dual wield it, because that is the configuration most similar to the original toy, which just had 2 big guns. These aren't quite as big as his old guns, but they give the illusion pretty decently, I guess. Alright, there he is. Now one thing I want to show off is this new head sculpt. Looks Really, really nice. And it's actually based more off the head design from the IDW comics than it is the original Generation 1 toy. Just a bit more detailed. Overall shape's not too different between the two. But apparently is based off of Nick Roche's design there, so credit where credit's due. As far as posability, again, nothing new if we've seen Spinister before. Ball jointed head. It's got great waist swivel there, universal shoulders, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, which is nice. It's got a wrist swivel that kind of need to remove the weapons to use, but it's there. Universal hips, thigh swivel, single bend knees, and then ankle rocking, or sorry, tilting and also rocking. So very, very posable. He's like pretty much top tier. So that is good. We like a nice posable action figure. And overall, I like the way he looks. Now, I will say that this body type really doesn't fit the original character. So the biggest difference, if I were to just point something out immediately, is that unlike Spinister, Rotorstorm didn't have cockpits on his legs, he had one on his chest. And you can see that his chest design here was painted to kind of resemble that. Make it kind of sort of look like he has a cockpit there. Which is, you know, if you're doing a retool, it's about the best you can do. I guess technically they could have remolded that part to look a little more like a cockpit, but then, I don't know. It'll look kind of weird. So, you know, for what he is, a retool, he pulls it off very well. Got these nice Autobot tampos on his shoulders. The silver and red on the shins still looks really nice, and I really love that head sculpt. I am so happy they changed that because it really helps set him apart. Again, for some reason, this connection's a little bit looser than Spinister. Must be the pin's not in as far or something, so not crazy about that wiggle that it's got going on there. Wish it were a little more sturdy. Here, naturally, is our comparison shot with Sinister. And again, same exact body types, only difference is their head and their paint applications. But you know, they work. Spinister, because of his color choices and, you know, kind of evil looking head sculpt, he's very obviously Decepticon. And then on the flip side, you get Rotorstorm, who despite sharing a body type, ends up making for a very heroic visage. So again, visual cues, they're what it's all about. Now I have to say, in all honesty, I was pretty dismayed when we found out that we were getting Rotorstorm as a retool of Spinister. You know, personally, I'd really rather have a new mold, or at least using a mold that fits the character a little better. And, you know, we saw this coming. He had been leaked in, you know, some information a while back, and I was kind of hoping like, oh, come on, don't let it be a Spinister retool, but it was. I've made my peace with that now. And overall, I'm happy. You know, it's not ideal. It's not what I would have preferred if given a choice, but he does look really good. I mean, he really rocks this body type very, very well. And because Spinister is so tall for a modern deluxe, naturally, Rotorstorm's a pretty tall guy too, so he makes for a pretty imposing warrior. Okay, here's a look at what happens when Rotorstorm tries to tell a joke. What, too soon? No. Okay, and here's a fun shot of Rotorstorm along with his last stand of the Wreckers teammates, or, you know, as many of them as I could produce in toy form. And, you know, it's kind of fun being able to build at least most of the team, as we saw them in the comics. Rotorstorm has been kind of a sorely missed member of people's collections since the original, because this is the only release of this character since the original. And unless you lived in Europe, well, he was going to be pretty hard to find, because he was only released there. So, you know, just getting this guy's another way to top off your collection, whether you're looking to get the Turbomasters, European stuff, or the Wreckers. Now you can get it. It's not completely ideal, again, because it's not a new mold, but I think they did amazing things with what they were given. And I'm hoping that if interest in him is pretty strong, which it seems to be a lot of people pre-ordering this guy, that'll maybe give them an idea to do more Turbomasters, because it's really something we don't get to see much of, if at all, since, you know, the originals, or, you know, like BotCon stuff. Personally, I probably think what everyone else is thinking. Thunder Clash. They need to make a Thunder Clash and not just a retool of something, but own mold. Do something cool with them. I would love to see that. And then, we can get their Decepticon counterparts down the line at some point. Wishful thinking on my part. They haven't really hinted that they're willing to do that. Only sign so far is getting Rotorstorm here. But you never know. So, I think I've given you guys a pretty good impression of what I think of the toy. Again, disappointed he's not an all-new mold, or at least something, a little more accurate. But I really like him for what he is. He's a very good-looking figure. The Spinister mold is a great base to start from because it was such a good and well-received toy. And then you top him off with some great colors, great paint, and an awesome head sculpt. And I think you can't go wrong. So my recommendation, if you like the Spinister mold, or you want more Wreckers, or you just want to get a Turbomaster character, I 100% recommend it. I think, like myself, you'll very quickly get over the flaws in the fact that this guy was retooled. But, of course, that is just how I feel about this toy. Now I want to know what you all think. Do you see yourselves adding Rotorstorm to your collection? Do you think he's worth the $20, considering he is just a retooled Spinister? Or are you just holding on to your money until you get something that might be a little more the real deal? Any and all feedback is always welcome in the comment section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this look at the brand new Transformers Generation Selects Turbomaster, Rotorstorm. And with all that said, I will see you next time.